Hello guys, I hope you are fine, and today we will be working with lists. So lists in Python are nothing but are the collection of the data that can be of different data types or can be of simple data types. So we are going to start by empty lists. So let me create an empty list. So I would name it my list, and then you just give these large brackets. So by giving these large brackets, the list is defined. Since this is empty, if you try to print this, if you try to print my list, it's going to show nothing because there's no value in it. So now let's try to print a list that contains integers. So I would say integer list, and I would add some integers to that. Let's say 10, 20, 30, and then print this int list. Now I'm going to create another list, and I would call it string list. So John Mickey is its name. Let's print this string list, and you can see it has printed. So now you can also create a mixed list. So when I say mix, it means that of different data types, like John is 35 years old and his weight is 78.5. So now this list contains float, integer, and string. Now let's try to print this list, mixed list, and as a result we can see a string quoted in single quotes, integer, and floating point. So when I say nested list, it means that a list inside a list. So let's say nested list equals to, let's say it's list of name, then name, and then some floating point, and I will add another list. I'll say John is 50 years old and he runs 6.5 kilometers daily, and this is end. So if you try to print this, you'd see the nested list is printed here. Here you can see that these are the values. So this is also a value in a list, but this value is of type list. We come to a point where we need to know how to access these values or these items that are present in the list. So in order to do that, we are going to use the indexes. So let's say I want value in list that is present on index 1. So on index 1 you can see that the name is present. So I would try to print the name. You can see we have gotten the name. You can also do the reverse indexing by trying to fetch the last item in the list. So we'll try to access the last value, that is index. Now let me try to access a list inside the list that's on -2, means second last position. So we have accessed this list. Now what I will do is that I'm going to use slicing. I want to access values from 2 to 5. So this is 0, 1, this is 2, but 5 is not present, so we'll give it 4. So let's try to print this. This is printed from 2, 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4. So if I try to say 5, it will print 5. If I try to say 3, it will print only one item, because from the indexing perspective it's on the second index, but from the second parameter or the ending parameter, this is also on 3. Now I want to access all the values that starts with index 2. So if I print this, so this is my 0, 1, index 2, and then to the end of a string. Now I'll do it in a reverse order. I want it to be till the second index. So if I print this 1 and 2, because the second parameter starts with 1, or you can say even if you start it with 0, you need to add a -1 to this. So 0, 1 and 2, and -1 is name. So it is printed 10 and name. Now I want to change elements in the list. So there are multiple ways of changing elements in the list. So I would start with nested list, and I am going to change its first index, that is name, and I am going to add a value to that, and that would be Mickey. Now I'll need to print nested list. Let's print this, and you can see that the value on the first index 0, 1 name is changed with Mickey. You can also do it in the reverse ordering, and if you try to run this, you can see that this last index end has been changed with Mickey. You can also do this by giving it a range. So for example 1 to 3. Now I'm going to change from index 1 to 3. I'm going to say 100, and then 200 as an integer, and then 300.1 as float. So I've changed the nested list from index 1 to index 2. Now let's try to print this and see. Now you can see that from the index 1, that is name, has been changed to 100, string 33.21 changed to 200, and this whole list has been changed by or updated by 300.1. Now after this, you can add single or multiple items to a list. So for example, I'm going to use a mixed list. I'm going to append a value, and I'm going to append this is end. Now I'm going to print mixed list, and if I print this, I'm going to get the result. This is end. This is appended. So append always adds value in the end. Now let me clear the console. And now you can also append the whole list to a list. For example, I want to append 10, 20 and 30.1. So if now I print this list, so it's going to show me the appended list. Now let me print this. You can see that this is appended a list into the current list. So, and as you know that append always adds value or appends value in the end. So there's another function that is extend. Now let's use that function extend. This is also used to add values to the current list. So this time I would say like name, age and sex. So now if I print this here and print it here and print both of these, now you can see that this has printed this and this has printed this. So the difference that is between this and this is that this appends the whole list as an item, but extend adds items of the list into the current list. As you can see that this 10, 20 and 31 that we appended here is a list into a list, so it added it as a list. but name, age and sex are not added as a list, rather they have been added as items. So this is the main difference between append and extend. So now we are going to use the concatenation operator for list. So how do we concatenate this list? So print mixed list, and you can concatenate another list, like area is 2000 square feet and it's 10.5 kilometers away from home. Let's try to print this. As a result, you can see that the list, which was mixed list, which was supposed to end at 78.5, has added area 2000 and 10.5. So you can also use simple concatenation operator to add values of a list into a list. You can also multiply list as many times as you want to. So this will print list that many times. So if I run this, you can see that this has printed items inside the list twice. I can also make it thrice. This is printed thrice. Now let's remove this. Now let's try to learn how to insert an item in a list. So in order to insert item in list, you simply use insert function. If you can see that this is asking for two parameters. First, where do you want to add this? I want to add it on the second index, and next is the object, which is Arthur. So this time if I try to print this mixed list, I should get Arthur on second index. Run this and see 0, 1 and 2. So Arthur is added on the second index. Now I want to delete from list. You can delete whole list. Print this to check if this is working. It says this name mixed list is not defined because it has been deleted. I want to delete this. Now I'm going to print mixed list, and if I run this, you can see that the item on the 0 index has been deleted. You can also do it by reverse indexing. You can remove the last item. You can see the last item has been removed. You can also delete in ranges. For example, so this has only 3 items. Let's add some more. Now I want to remove from index 2, I mean from here to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 to 5. So this will delete items from index 2 to the index 4. So let's try to run this. You can see that the items 78, 10 and 20 have been removed. Now there's another option to remove the values. This was delete, and now we can also remove the values. So let's say this is mixed list. I want to remove John from this list. I don't like him anymore. Print this, print mixed list, and you can see that John is no more there. He's gone. You can also comment this. You can also use the pop function to pop an element. Now let's print this in order to check. So if you don't give it any parameter, this is going to remove the last item. But if you say mixed list dot pop and pop the third index is 0, 1, 2 and 3, so 10 should be removed from the list. As you can see that 10 is no more there. You can also clear the list. So by clearing the list, all the items in the list would be cleared or removed or deleted. You can see that we have emptied the list. Now you can also remove items from the list by slicing. So let's say it's mixed list. I want to remove items from index 1 to 4, and I want to assign this empty list. Now if I print this, so from index 1 to index 3, it would remove all the values. Now let's check the results, and as you can see, only John, 20, 30 and 40 are there, because index 1 and 2, 3 and 4 are gone. Now you can use Python list methods. We have used several methods here, so we are going to use the remaining method. For example, if you want to know the index of a certain number, let's say I want to know the index of 35, you can run this and you can see that the index of 35 is 1. I want to know the index of 20, and I will see that index of 20 is 4. 0, 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. You can also count values in list. In order to count, you can count items in the list. So how many times an item is present in list? So for example, say I've added 20 3 times now, and I want to count 20. If I search this will tell me that 20 is present 3 times. So if I say to 10, it will tell me 0. So if 0, it means that it is not present in the list, and if it returns more than 0, it means that that is the number of times the item is present in the list. As you can see, if we check 35, it's going to return 1. It means that 35 is present in the list once. You can also sort the list. My list is mixed list, and I want to sort it. So let's print it. Now this is going to give us an error because our list contains multiple types, so strings, integer and float. So let's try to see the error. So it said not supported between instances of integer and string. So let's remove strings from here and let float be there. So let's see if it sorts the float. Yeah, it does. So it has sorted my list. Now there's another function which is a reverse function. So if I reverse this, it's going to reverse the list. So the list would start from here to here. You can also copy the list. So for example, I want to create new list, and I want to make it a copy of mixed list. So I would copy mixed list, and this time I'm going to print new list. So new list should be same as the mixed list. You can see that the new list is same as the mixed list because I copied the mixed list and assigned it to the new list. Now you can also find something in the list. So let's remove this code. We don't need this anymore. Let's say I want to find 20 in mixed list. So is 20 present in the mixed list? Yes, it is. So it returns true. If I say 200 in the list, it's going to return false because 200 is not present in the list. So same goes with not in. So if the number or the value is not present in the list, it's going to return true. And since 35 is already in the list, I'm going to check it, and it's going to return false because 35 is present in the list. We don't need this. Now there are some built-in functions that we would want to use in Python for lists. So let's say, for example, length. We have already used this for a string. We can also use this for list in order to know the length of the list. If you run it, the length of list is 7. So it means that your list contains 7 items in it. You can also fetch the maximum value in the list. So if I run it, maximum value is 78.5. Let's try to find the minimum value. The minimum value is 20. Let's try to add another value to check if it returns. Okay, so 10 is the minimum value in this list now. You can also sum this list. So let's sum this mixed list, and if you sum it, so if you add all these numbers, the result would be 253.5. Let's print the sorted mixed list. So if I try to print this, I'm going to get the sorted list. Now this sorted function actually creates a new list for you. So this has sorted this list. So we have used the sort function, but that sort function, what that sort function does is that sorts the current list. But this sorted does not sort this list, rather it returns you the sorted result by not sorting original list. And if you assign it to another variable, so that would be sorted. So let's say new list equals to sorted mixed list. So I will print both mixed list. I'll print mixed list, and I'll also print new list. Let's try to run this. You can see that the above list, which is the actual list, mixed list, is not sorted, but this function has sorted this list and it has assigned this sorted list to the new list. So this is the basic difference between the sort and the sorted function. I hope you enjoyed the video. This was all about the list. There can be, or there are many other functions for the list, but these were the major functions that are widely and commonly used in lists in Python.